Have you ever wondered what happened to the numerous intelligent species that once populated our galaxy? 150 years ago, there were 127 known intelligent species, each contributing their own unique cultures and voices to the universe. From the lithe and graceful to the bulky and slow, from the many-legged and scary to the beautiful and unique, they all participated in the vibrant galactic society. But now, only 56 of those species remain above endangered levels. Among those 56, there is one species we all grew to fear above all else: humans. Humans were the last species to join the galaxy before the calamity occurred, and they kept much of their history and nature hidden. This wasn't unusual. Many species withdrew slightly when confronted with the vastness of the galaxy, realizing how small they truly were. We respected their privacy and didn't pry too much into their past. Despite being a relatively isolated and impressive stellar empire, humans left their jobs, homes, and families in droves to explore the stars of other nations. In less than a decade, humans became a common sight on every planet. Their adaptability ensured they could live alongside almost anyone. The wider galaxy learned to love these strange bipeds. Whether mining on Celis 4, leading businesses on Prim, or delving into the multicolored caves of Galoria, humans quickly became a sizable minority throughout the galaxy. Explorers, diplomats, and traders by nature, they found fast allies in every sector. Even militaristic species like the drummer and lilagar were impressed by the humans' combat abilities. Human representatives quickly found their place in galactic governments, often after defeating previous holders in duels. Humans were everywhere, doing everything, yet they remained tight-lipped about their history. They eagerly delved into the histories of others but rarely spoke of their own. When they did, they recited the same words, only talking about the rise of the current human federation from a fractured species of dozens of smaller groups. Eventually, we all stopped asking. 48 years after their appearance, a threat emerged from a part of the galaxy long deemed impenetrable due to its thick nebula and strange electromagnetic interference: the Grocs. The galaxy had been at peace for over a millennium. Even militaristic species had largely let their militaries fall by the wayside, considering a galaxy without war. The galaxy scrambled fast, but our community had not fought anything in almost 180 years. Technology had marched on, and governments had more important things to do than retrofit militaries that were never called on for anything more than the odd pirate gang. What would happen now that the peace was shattered? How would the galaxy respond to this new threat? And what role would humans, the mysterious and adaptable newcomers, play in the coming conflict? The answers lay ahead, shrouded in suspense and uncertainty. Have you ever been caught off guard by something you never expected? We were. By the time we organized a true blockade against the Grocs, it had been almost 2 years since their emergence, and a full 30% of the galactic arm was under the rapidly expanding GRS empire. Humans were everywhere, playing crucial roles as combat medics, admirals, ship engineers, you name it, and they were there. As the decades slipped by, the fighting grew worse. Even the most robust economies began to falter. Empires struggled to maintain an effective defense. After almost 50 years of relentless combat, a human diplomat named Charlize Materin appeared before the Galactic Council with a bold proposal. She asked that humans take over the direction of the war effort. We had lost almost half the galaxy, and millennia-old empires had cracked and fallen, absorbed by those around them trying to prevent rogue states from exacerbating the situation. It was true that there were many humans in the leadership of the war effort, even within the militaries of non-human empires. Yet, we protested. Humans had lost almost as many of their species as the rest of the combatants combined. We thought there was no way they could form an effective fighting force. Although skilled in combat with a still-functioning economy due to their remote position, humans had never fought in a galactic-level war. We argued back and forth for weeks, but Charlie's held firm. She claimed her convictions were backed by the highest forms of authority. Opinions on the council were divided. Some saw skilled greenhorns exploiting a crisis for power, while others viewed them as a peaceful trading group hoping to make a difference. In a fit of frustration, Charlie's declared she was no longer asking, she was demanding. She insisted that leadership be stripped from the Galactic Council and transferred to humanity. Human leaders backed her, asserting that their people knew war well and would follow whatever orders they were given. To use a human idiom, it was the straw that broke the camel's back. Other generals and admirals fell in line behind their human comrades, and the council's hand was forced. Within a week, a human fleet reclaimed a sector we had been struggling to recover for months. They blasted out of FTL and launched nuclear weapons and light-speed missiles at the Grocs fleets with a recklessness bordering on insanity. The enemy never stood a chance, torn to pieces in a hail of fire and blood. In 1 week, they used as much firepower as we had in a month, but they achieved something we hadn't seen in years: results. And they didn't stop there. They pushed further into enemy territory, paying for every system they took, but making the Grocs pay more. 3 months later, we officially granted them leadership of the combined galactic fleets. A human admiral marched into the military headquarters of a galactic armada and proclaimed, the galaxy would be theirs within a decade. We laughed, but they kept their word. Human leadership inspired more humans to join the fight, confident that with their own people in charge, victory was just a matter of time. What would you do if you lost everything? The Grocs had slaughtered trillions, and each human who signed up to fight had lost coworkers, friends, family. Even those few who had lost, no one wanted to help those who had, or simply to burn the Grocs to ashes. Throughout the war, humans had been everywhere. Huge medical fleets treated soldiers wounded in ground fighting. Armadas of human ships tore through space, decimating the enemy. We witnessed every facet of the humans' praiseworthy deeds. Yet, amid the chaos, the greatest minds of humanity debated among themselves and finally reached a decision. After half a century of war, it took them a month to retake sectors long held by the Grocs, a year to turn the tide, and by the 4th year, the Grocs were fleeing. But how they did it was the stuff of nightmares. Biological horrors, the result of twisted experiments by insane scientists, were dropped onto worlds to ravage military bases. Where horrors failed, entire colonies were emptied of violent prisoners to unleash instead, utilizing the chaos they created to tear the Groc forces apart. Viral bombardments with horrific plagues left entire worlds screaming in agony as their bodies were torn apart from the inside, turning them into sludgy piles of undulating flesh or just ripping their organs apart one by one. Nanite swarms stripped enemy fleets of their hulls, spacing the occupants as they repurposed all that metal into more of themselves, eventually growing into planet-sized monstrosities that could consume entire systems in weeks. When nanites, viral bombardments, or mutated horrors wouldn't work, the humans simply burned whole worlds in nuclear fire, glassing manufactories and economic centers. They turned the shimmering jewels of the Athenai and Boma empires into eternally burning monuments of fire, to ensure the Grocs no longer had a hold on those regions. When the inevitable outcry arose, Admiral Jonas SM went on Galactic News and simply asked, "Do you want the GRS defeated or do you want to die to their guns?" By the 6th year, the galaxy had seen enough atrocities. Trying to repair our broken and fractured nations would take centuries. Our economies had been stretched to the breaking point. With the Grocs' defeat assured, we beat our swords into plowshares and offered prayers to our human saviors. But each passing day revealed new and inventive horrors from the humans. They accelerated particles to light speed and slammed them into planets, breaking them in seconds. Fleets of drone swarms, acting like locusts, tore apart ships attempting to flee the atmospheres of broken worlds. Worlds that relied on regular food shipments were simply encased in a shield and left to starve as the war fleets moved ever onwards. The galaxy had been saved, but at what cost? The humans, our saviors, had shown a capacity for destruction that left us in awe and fear. As we tried to rebuild, we couldn't shake the haunting question, had we exchanged one nightmare for another? The true cost of our salvation was yet to be seen, and the suspense of what the future held loomed large over us all. Have you ever imagined what true desperation looks like? The Grocs had slaughtered trillions, and every human who joined the fight had suffered immense losses: co-workers, friends, family. Even those few untouched by personal loss felt compelled to help those who had, or simply to burn the Grocs in a pyre of nuclear fire. Humans were everywhere during the conflict, from massive medical fleets tending to the wounded to armadas of ships chasing the enemy through space with ruthless efficiency. We witnessed every facet of their courage and dedication. While humanity fought valiantly on the front lines, their greatest minds debated in secret. After half a century of war, they reached a chilling decision. In just a month, they retook sectors long held by the Grocs. In a year, they turned the tide, and within 4 years, the Grocs were fleeing. But the methods they used turned our blood to ice. Biological horrors, born of twisted experiments by insane scientists, were unleashed on worlds to ravage military bases. Where these horrors failed, entire colonies were emptied of violent prisoners to create chaos among the Groc forces. Viral bombardments with horrific plagues left entire worlds screaming in agony as their bodies were torn apart from the inside, turning into sludgy piles of undulating flesh or ripping their organs apart one by one. Nanite swarms stripped enemy fleets of their hulls, spacing the occupants and repurposing the metal into more of themselves, eventually growing into planet-sized monstrosities that could consume entire systems in weeks. When these terrifying tactics weren't enough, the humans resorted to burning entire worlds in nuclear fire, glassing manufactories and economic centers. They turned the shimmering jewels of the Athenai and Boma empires into eternally burning monuments of fire, ensuring the Grocs no longer held those regions. As inevitable outcry arose, Admiral Jonas SM appeared on Galactic News and asked, "Do you want the GRS defeated, or do you want to die to their guns?" By the 6th year, the galaxy had witnessed enough atrocities. Repairing our broken and fractured nations would take centuries. Our economies were stretched to the breaking point. With the Grocs' defeat assured, we beat our swords into plowshares and offered prayers to our human saviors. But each passing day brought new and inventive horrors from the humans. They accelerated particles to light speed and slammed them into planets, breaking them in seconds. Fleets of drone swarms, acting like locusts, tore apart ships attempting to flee the atmospheres of broken worlds. Worlds reliant on regular food shipments were encased in shields and left to starve as war fleets moved ever onwards. The galaxy was saved, but at a staggering cost. The humans, our saviors, had revealed a capacity for destruction that left us in awe and fear. As we tried to rebuild, one haunting question remained: had we exchanged one nightmare for another? The true cost of our salvation was yet to be seen, and the suspense of what the future held loomed large over us all. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what the humans, these adaptable, formidable, and now terrifying allies, would do next.